you are not in the same place, like at all. So if you are catching yourself saying, man, how did I get here again? Whether it's like a relationship dynamic, or if it is a pattern where you stopped and started something, or if it's place, like fill in the blank. If you catch yourself saying, how did I get here again? Maybe it's in debt or whatever the case it is, you are not in the same place that you were before. Even though your mind is being like, we haven't even changed. Like, how did we get back into this situation? I challenge you to think about the difference of who you are right now versus who you were when you think that you are repeating the pattern. So I'll give you an example. In my most recent experience was in a relationship. And in this relationship, I realized, I'm like, shit, here I am experiencing these same things, these same patterns that are coming up within me and with my partner that I've had in other relationships. But this time I was super observant and knew it was happening. I was like, oh no. So I had the awareness of it, right? I knew. Whereas the other times I was super unconscious to it and I wasn't aware. It just continued to play out until things crumbled and crashed and burned. So this time I had the awareness, and I was like, in a moment, I was like, damn it, I'm here again. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Because now I'm able to be aware. I'm able to close this loop of patterning, say, we're not doing this again. And we're learning from our mistakes in this situation. And we get to move on and say, yeah, done. So wherever you think that you are repeating things and like you're not improving, remember that it's never just a trajectory linear where it's like we're constantly just going up and up and up. It's more of like a circular spiral pattern where we come up and bump up against different tests, different triggers, different patterns that we continue to repeat in different ways. It is just the universe being like, hey, did you learn yet? Are you going to make a different move? Are you going to make a different decision? Are you going to do the same thing? Or are you going to be aware of your patterning and then choose to do something else? It's like when we play like checkers and stuff, like, and you're like, oh, I lost that. And you remember in a game and you're like, wait, I lost doing that move. So I'm going to go here instead, or insert whatever game you want to talk about. But this is kind of the process of that, where it's like, okay, am I learning from this? Am I observing this? Am I aware of this? And then I can pivot and do something different. So you're not in the same place that you were last time. You have so much more knowledge, experience, you have more awareness towards it, and you're recognizing it. So those are all really good things that you can be like, okay, now we get to go choose the thing that we actually want to choose and be conscious of it, because that's all this is bringing everything from the unconscious conscious, and then you're like, oh my God, I could actually see the patterns play out. Another example that I will give you from myself is that in my journey of content creating is that I had my first spiritual awakening in 2020. And well, maybe a little bit before that. It was like 2018 into 2019. It was like before 2020, but then everything hit at that point, and then it just snowballed. So it was like awakening after awakening after awakening, and just so much stripping, right? So much letting go, and so much of a process of like, oh my gosh, like what is going to be left? Especially this year. This year, I even had even more stripping away, where you're getting more closer and closer to the core of the soul and the soul expression. So we have all of these things where we have different masks and different roles and culture and human, like all these things like piled on us that kind of shape the way that we operate, but it's not truly ourselves. So we have to unlearn all of those things to like get to the core of who we are as this expression in this human body, because the body isn't who we are. Like it's the spirit, it's the soul. Anyways, we're getting off track. So in this situation of content creating, I started my content creation journey in 2020, and I got on TikTok and I was having offerings. I was doing a lot of energy healing, and I was creating a course for people to go through this energy healing and teach them how to connect back to their own soul light language. And I grew my account to like over, maybe it was like 6,000. And then I had, was about to launch this. And then all of a sudden I had a meltdown and I didn't recognize it at this point, but I shut down and I avoided it. So I deleted the account, and got rid of all the things, like stopped channeling light language, like completely shut down, was not ready, didn't want to be seen. Like, even though I wanted it, I like wasn't ready for it. And so I shut all this down. And then years after that, I would start in another account and then I'd delete it, and then I'd start it and then I'd delete it. And even with my own podcast too. So if you've like followed my podcast journey, it's been different reinventions and different iterations of my podcast, of what is now the Stormy Show. But so many things have had to die to be able to be rebirthed, and die and rebirth and die and rebirth. I mean, literally down to my own name. Like, I changed that. So many deaths, so many rebirths. So what I'm saying is that for many times in that content creation process of like, damn, here I was in the same place. I would have been so much further along and had such a different outcome or following or whatever if I would have just stuck with it and kept going and didn't shut down, collapse, and avoid and delete. So then I'm in my new journey now. And I had a moment where I'm like, damn, here I am doubting again. Here I am doing these things again. I'm in the same place. And I'm like, wait a minute. I have the awareness now. I have the awareness of why I did what I did, what those woundings were, what that trigger was, why I couldn't handle that. And now I'm way more, my energy body has completely changed. We're able to hold so much more and see what had happened, heal those wounds, meet those versions of myself that wasn't ready for that, and be ready to stand in my own authentic code, in my own expression, and be able to be like, yeah, this is my soul. I'm in this body right now. I can be totally seen for who I am. This is my authentic self. This is my story. This is my voice. This is what I've gone through. This is how I've messed up. This is how I'm trying to help you. These are my lessons or what I'm going through, and not trying to be anything or like have it look a certain way or not. So my content creation journey has been like that, where it's like stop started. So maybe you've had a project or a business or something that you're trying to get off the ground, and then you keep starting, stopping, and out of either doubt or self-sabotage or avoiding, like I was, mixed bag of all of those things, which is really fun to work through, right? So in the moment of you're like, damn, I'm in the same place, you're not in the same place. You have learned lessons, you've had experience, you have completely shifted. You are not the same person that you were when in the past that those things had happened. You literally cannot possibly be the same person. Every moment, every day, every week, we become somebody new. And you might be like, that feels really aggressive, but think about it. In a day's experience, from one day's experience, you literally cannot be the same person from yesterday to today. You've experienced a whole new day. You've had bumped up in the energy and the vibrations of other people, and you've shifted and grown and expanded and learned something and read something and listened to something and were inspired about something and all these things. You can't be the same person. So now, as you come back to the same pattern or to the same thing, the same version of something, relationship, job, creating art, whatever you're going through, whatever that repeating pattern is, know that you're not the same person, and know that you're like, wow, I get to have this awareness and I'm conscious about it, and I get to choose now how I want to move forward. And that's how you consciously co-create with the universe, and how we get to create our new timelines and our own timeline. We get to be a co-creator because we're conscious of what we're creating, not unconsciously running the same programs that are running that we didn't know were running. We've unplugged from those things and we're like, I'm not repeating that again. I'm not doing that again, because now I have the awareness of that. And now you get to create something totally different, totally new. So I hope this helps. Let me know what you are creating consciously.